Let me tell you all something. There's a moment in life when you try to knock somebody down thinking they'll stay down. But instead, you wake up and realize you were the one who just got embarrassed. That's what happened. That's what's still happening. And who did it happen to? One of the most powerful, loudest, chest-thumping nations in the world. They thought they could isolate India, but they got humiliated instead. See, for decades, India was treated like the side note of history, like it was just there for back in tech, support outsourced labor, and a market to sell things to. They wanted India to keep its head down, keep buying, keep depending, and never speak too loud. They thought India would always be grateful just to be in the room. But what they forgot is that India wasn't asking for a seat at their table. India was building its own damn table. Now let's not play dumb here. Here's when they realized India wasn't going to beg for approval. They got nervous. They said, you know what? Let's isolate them. Let's squeeze their influence. Let's pull back partnerships. Let's start pushing narratives. All of a sudden, every time India took a stand, there was criticism. Every time India defended its own interest, the headlines turned cold. Every time India made a deal without the so-called global gatekeepers, there was outrages. They didn't like that India wasn't being obedient anymore. But you can't isolate a country that's already learned how to stand alone. What they forgot is India has been standing alone for thousands of years. Before the world knew what globalization was, India was already trading spices, philosophy, astronomy, and ideas that shaped civilization. You think cutting ties in 2025 is going to break a nation that survived colonizers, invasions, partitions, and betrayal? Let me tell you something. When you've been through all that and still standing proud, there ain't no isolation tactic that's going to work. So they made their move. Cut some deals short, backed out of collaborations, started pushing anti-India sentiments in the media, thought it would work. Thought India would get scared, thought India would come crawling back. But no, sir, that didn't happen. What happened instead? India rose even faster. It turned inward, not in defeat, but in strategy. It started making what it used to buy. It started selling what it used to. It didn't wait for validation from the West. It started leading in its own right. Look at how they tried to box India out of the chip supply chain, tried to make India dependent on semiconductors that came from their allies. What did India do? It launched a massive domestic semiconductor mission, started building fab units, started bringing in partners from Japan, Taiwan, and the UAE, built tech alliances that didn't need American approval. Instead of begging, India started offering, and now countries are lining up to be part of India's chip ecosystem. Look at energy. They told India not to buy oil from certain countries. They tried to shame India for choosing deals that made economic sense. What did India do? It doubled down, bought cheaper oil, refined it, and even exported it. You tried to choke the pipeline. India turned it into a profit line. Humiliating, that ain't the word. That's brilliant. Slapping arrogance in the face. You want to talk about military? Oh, they tried that too. Don't buy Russian weapons. They said you'll face consequences. But India didn't blink. India said, we'll buy what we need from who we need when we need. And in the meantime, we'll build our own too. Now you got missiles like BrahMos scaring half of Asia, fighter jets flying home-built radars and the world, watching every Indian defense expo like it's a Super Bowl. They said India was too dependent on foreign arms. Now see, India is one of the world's top arms exporters, selling drones, missiles, torpedoes, and defense software to countries that used to laugh at it. Ain't that something? You tried to shame them into silence, and they responded with dominance. That's what humiliation looks like when it's reflected in someone else's success. Even in space, they tried to downplay India's ambitions. Said they weren't ready, mocked their budgets, smirked at their launches. But now what? India lands on the moon's south pole. Sends missions to study the sun, and get this, does it at a cost lower than your Hollywood blockbusters. You tried to isolate them from global aerospace. They just built a rocket highway to the stars. But it wasn't just tech or defense. It was about narrative. They tried to portray India as intolerant, unstable, risky, used every media trick to distort the picture. But what they didn't understand was this ain't the 1990s. The world's got eyes, ears, and alternatives. Now, the global south saw what was happening, saw how India was being cornered, and you know what they said? Hold up, if they're treating India like this, what chance do we have? That's when the game changed, because isolating India backfired so bad it turned India into a symbol of resistance. Suddenly you've got African nations praising India's balanced foreign policy. You've got Middle Eastern nations saying we want defense ties with New Delhi. You've got Latin America looking for trade agreements with India. It's no longer about East v West, it's about sovereign choices, and India is leading that movement. You try to isolate them, and instead you put the global spotlight on them. Let's talk trade. The idea was if we withdraw deals, they'll fall in line. Now India started making regional trade agreements. He started trading in local currencies, stopped relying on the dollar for every damn transaction. When America pulled back, India turned to AEN, to Africa, to Central Asia, and in that vacuum it didn't just survive, it thrived. And now the irony is so loud it's deafening. You tried to isolate India, and now your own companies are begging to enter India. Every CEO is flying to New Delhi with a proposal in hand. Every tech giant wants Indian engineers. Every chip maker wants Indian land. Every app store wants Indian users. You wanted to box them out, but now you're knocking on their door. That's not strategy. That's desperation with a business card. Even in diplomacy, it's been a humiliation of epic proportions. You stopped inviting them to elite tables, and now they're hosting summits of their own. You skipped them in alliances. Now they're forming global coalitions without you. Brasius is growing. The global south is uniting. The voice getting louder in UN forums isn't yours, it's India's. You played checkers. India played chess. Look, when a country stops looking for handouts and starts setting its own standards, that's dangerous to empires. And that's exactly what's happened. India didn't get isolated. It got liberated. And now it's showing the rest of the world how to do the same. You can't isolate a nation that decided to isolate the noise and amplify its own voice. India's humiliation is not in being isolated. The humiliation belongs to the one who thought isolation could still work in a globalized, digital, and multipolar world. That ain't diplomacy. That's delusion. You tried to treat them like a junior partner. India moved like a sovereign boss. You expected them to collapse. They turned your pressure into policy reform. You thought they'd panic. They found peace in the pressure. And you know what's really wild? It's not just that India succeeded. It's that they did it with style, with silence, no chest thumping, no drama, just progress.